Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's Gospel reading. Now, this Gospel reading is Jesus speaking in parables. Now, parable, what's that? Well, a parable is when somebody tells you a story so that they can relate it to something that's actually real. So like if you listen to your papu or yaya tell a story, or you're watching a movie like Frozen, those are stories, but they have lessons in them that teach us how we should behave. And that's exactly what Jesus is going to do with his story today. He's going to tell us a parable, and that parable is the parable of the sower. Sower? What's that? Is that like somebody that knits stuff? No, not that kind of sower. This is going to be a farmer. This is somebody who sows plants in the ground. So in this story, the farmer wants to plant seeds and grow good and healthy plants. So he goes out to his farm and he starts to plant. Now, some of his dirt is dirt like this. See how nice and smooth that is? And it's easy to plant the seeds in that. And other parts of his farm have these like big rocks and boulders that he's got to move, and it's hard for the seeds to grow. And then there's another part of his farm that's got like a lot of weeds and stuff like that, and that makes it difficult for the seeds to grow. And then lastly, he's got this area where the dirt is so hard that you can't even get a seed in it. I mean, if you take a shovel and you bang on it, nothing happens. So what Jesus is trying to tell the people that were listening to him, and he's trying to tell us, is comparing all these different types of dirt and soil to the different types of people, because we're the soil. So when the farmer tries to plant something in really hard packed dirt and he can't get the seeds through, those are people that don't even want to listen about Jesus. They don't care. They don't want to have anything to do with Jesus. So the words of Jesus, which are the seeds, can't get into their heart and let them know about all of the beautiful things about the kingdom of heaven. So maybe an example of this is, you know how like when you go to an amusement park, and there's a lot of rides and stuff like that, like you go to Seabreeze and you want to ride the roller coaster. So this part, this really hard soil, is like that friend that absolutely won't go with you on the ride. And they're your best friend. You want them to go, but they're not going to listen to anything that you say. No matter what you tell them about how safe the ride is and how fun it's going to be, they don't want to have anything to do with it. So that's like this hard-packed dirt where the words of Jesus won't penetrate into their heart. Now, the second type of soil is that soil that's got like a lot of weeds and gunky stuff. And so when you're trying to plant seeds in that kind of ground, the weeds are going to take up all the water, and what happens? The seeds end up dying. So this is where the seeds are being choked by the other things. So what's an example of that? Okay, so let's say you've got like some kind of allergy, like allergy to fish or allergy to peanuts or something like that, and you're with your friend. And your friend now says he loves peanuts. So he says to you, come on, let's have some peanuts. I love this peanut butter too. And you know that you shouldn't be doing that because you know that it's going to make you sick. But you got your friend who's like the weeds, and he's trying to steal your thoughts and say, hey, this is something that you need to do. And Jesus knows that we need strength so that we can say to our friend, I know that you like peanut butter and you like peanuts, but that's not something I can do. You don't want the weeds now to take over what you know is better.
My peanut.
So the third type of soil is that really rocky soil. So that's soil that has a bunch of different rocks and gravel and boulders and all that kind of stuff. So when the farmer throws the seeds on the ground, they hit those rocks and boulders and things, and they don't get into the ground, and then they end up dying. Those boulders and rocks are the obstacles that we face in our lives. So an example of this would be like the Fortnite game that I know a lot of you probably play. And I know that in this game you can buy like a lot of cool costumes, there's a lot of dance moves and things like that, and all that stuff is really great and fun. But you got to remember that sometimes you can go crazy with that and you can spend a lot of money. And you want to be careful because the money that your parents are using to pay for these things, they also use that money to pay for other things that are important too, like food, clothing, ice cream, your new bike, those things. The last type of soil is the good soil. This is the soil like what you see here, that it's easy. So when the farmer now wants to plant his crops, it's really easy because he just puts them in there one by one, and they're deep in the dirt, and they're going to grow straight and they're going to grow tall. This is the words of Jesus that we hear and we want to take into our hearts because we know that Jesus wants the best thing for us. And so, when these are planted in good soil, they're going to produce fruit. Now, what do I mean by that? Or what does Jesus mean by that when he says produce good fruit? So in this case, this could be an example where you take your allowance, or you take part of your allowance, and you use that maybe for the stuff that you want to do for Fortnite, but you use some of your allowance to help others. Like you give some of it to help the homeless, you give some of it to help buy food for kids that don't have food, or things like that. So you don't have to spend all your allowance on that. But the good soil that produces fruit is that you want to do good for other people who don't necessarily have all the nice things that you have. And so just like we hear at Easter, come receive the light, those good things that we do to produce fruit is what Jesus wants us to do. And so we want to make sure that we are the people that always have the light of Jesus Christ in our hearts and in our minds.